Previously in the Brotherverse.
Your friend Sage, her soul currently lies trapped 20 years in the past.
Have you ever heard the bard's tale of the hole to the other side of the world?
And he does a little cartoon dive, and then you hear him like hit the ground. He's like, ah!
You see a young-looking General Sage lying on the ground.
We're here to rescue you.
And right as General Sage jumps out this hole that you made, the rest of the environment evaporates. I'm very happy that you were able to return Sage's soul to her body. Sage is my living descendant and the embodiment of the Talisman of Time.
Should we check the hole?
What is happening? Where am I?
Sage, it looks like we have a hostage now.
This is gonna complicate things. All right, so if you guys remember, you have just transported back to the future. And you're in the tundra of the northern continent. And you are standing there with Sage, who has just been released from her crystal prison. And you also have the Omnian Prince with you, who is trapped in the portable hole, and you have now stabilized him. But he is currently sitting in the hole crying. And you know that Sage was imbued with like a newfound power after being released from the crystal. But you guys have also gained some power since you've come back. Because you've all leveled up to level 9.
We
9!
Did it.
Yeah. All right. So who wants to go first?
I'll do it. Mine's pretty quick and easy. My proficiency went up from 3 to 4. Sorcery points went up to 9. Which that sorcery points, if no one remembers, I can like spend to get spell slots back. Mm-hmm. My HP is now up to 58, allegedly. Apparently. Apparently. I'm at 58. And then 5th level spell. We're there. And I chose an interesting little piece of magic.
Go
My
on.
first 5th level spell. I now have a spell called Animate Objects.
That's fitting for you.
Wait, what?
That's fitting for you. For those who don't know,
Animator.
Ryan is an animator in real life.
Oh, for me as Ryan.
As Ryan.
A person.
Yeah.
Me as human, not to me as lizard man.
Him as human as is 3D animator.
Yes.
You animate objects.
Sure do. I wish it was as easy as a spell, honestly. But so I can choose up to 10 non-magical objects within range, not being worn or carried. Yeah, 10 objects. Although there's like caveats, because medium objects count as 2, large as 4, and huge as 8 objects. Mm. But like, what is considered a huge object?
It doesn't specify?
No, so like tiny, small, medium, large, and huge are like connotations of creature sizes as well. So like a weasel is like a tiny creature, while a Goliath is a large creature.
Or
I
like
think
the
that
frost giants, would that be huge?
that would be huge. I would expect.
Yeah, so I could technically, well, they're not. Well, wait.
They are animate already, so
yeah, it's
you
non-magical.
could get like a boulder or like a statue of a knight. A house. You go Baba Yaga.
Yeah, so I could even take one huge object and a couple small ones. But then I'm able to control them and they can attack. So they have different like attack hits depending on the size class, which it goes.
Holy crap.
Damn. Yeah, it goes all the way up to the huge objects have like 2d12 plus 4 damage.
Wow.
Holy crap.
and +8 to hit. So
Oh.
yeah, isn't that like +8 on the hit roll?
Yeah, on the attack roll.
On the attack roll? So yeah, I mean, it seems like these things won't miss.
So we have another melee person potentially on our team.
Yeah.
Yeah. And potentially 10 little minions.
Yeah, if you could just like summon like 10 nearby, I don't know, like pots off the ground or something and just have them attack people, that seems insane.
Yeah, it's
like
gonna
swarmed.
get real Beauty and the Beast up in here.
That's
Be our
sick.
guest.
You just need to carry
to
around.
the death.
You are not invited.
You just need to carry around a picnic basket that's filled with like plates and silverware and tea kettles and stuff like that. Whip it out
Yeah.
at any time.
In
Be
blue
the blue,
Raja.
the blue. Yes.
With living
Beat me
forks.
to it.
Living forks.
That's
But yeah, so
sick.
it sounds awesome because basically this is just gonna be. And honestly, a lot of times I feel like I'm gonna want to choose a horde of tiny objects because I think that's hilarious versus like one big one.
That's going to make things very difficult for me as the DM to be like attacking.
Yeah, I'm just like,
tiny
good
objects.
luck, Eric. Here's 10 more people to keep track of.
Eric's going to start making all of the environments empty.
Yeah.
You
Sorry,
find
room.
yourself in a void.
With no objects.
Every battle you fight is Final Destination from Smash Brothers. It's just flat. There's nothing there.
Items turned off.
Items turned off. Yeah.
And Ryan is like, I animate the Final Destination platform.
God damn
And
it.
just turn it upside down.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
That's so cool.
Yeah, so it's pretty legit. That's the extent of my upgrades. So
That's a big one, though. That's a big
It
one. I'll
is.
have to
It is
read through
indeed.
this whole thing because I want to fully understand it at some point.
I do think it's funny. I didn't personally make the connection between that spell and my real life that you made, Chris. Which is funny.
You just knew you were drawn to it.
I was like, this sounds great.
Okie doke. Orc, you want to go next?
Yeah. All right. So my proficiency went up 1. My health went up 15. So I'm sitting pretty at a cool 100.
Ooh.
My God.
Like dead even 100?
Dead even 100. Triple digits. I was going to say it's my centennial hit points, but that relates to time. So I looked up what just 100 is, and it's centum, apparently. So I have a centum of hit points.
Sick.
What else? Oh, and then I got brutal critical, which means I get an extra die to roll to determine critical hit damage.
Oh, so instead of rolling 2D, what would that be? 2D12s? You'd roll 3D12s?
Yeah, whatever the additional die is for a critical hit, I get to do 2
Yeah.
of them.
When do you get to roll for critical hit?
So if you roll a 20,
Oh.
you double your hit die usually. And so I guess now he triples his hit die.
Oh, gotcha.
That
Yeah,
is
I guess
a
so.
brutal
Wow.
critical.
That's a lot of damage.
Yep. So you
I'm gonna
could
sit
do like
back a lot.
30. If you rolled a 12 on a d20, you'd do 36 damage without even putting your bonuses on.
That'd be awesome. I think that's it for me.
All right.
Oh, wait, no, I got one more rage damage. So I do +3 on a rage hit now.
Nice.
Oh, sweet.
Man,
That's
so
it.
when you're raging, if you roll a d20, you are unstoppable. Anyway, Yenry, what you got for us?
Yeah, so mine's very similar to Puff's. So I got one more proficiency point, so all my skills go up a little bit. I got to roll for more hit points, so I'm up to 60 now. I got higher dice to roll for my Song of Rest feature, which is something I've never used. But I think it's basically like I can play a song and we can get back hit points. And it used to be a D6, but now we can roll a D8 and get back hit points for that. So if we need to, I can. And then I also got one more spell, and I have one level 5 spell now, one 5th level spell. So my new spell is something called Mislead. And basically it allows me to become invisible and then spawn an illusory double of myself where I was standing. So I kind of like split my consciousness and can send this like fake version of me in a different direction, and the real me is invisible and can go do whatever.
I love this.
Yeah, and it lasts for up to an hour with concentration.
Wow.
And I can move it. Weirdly, I can use my action to move it double my speed and make it gesture, speak, or behave in whatever way I choose. So for some reason, it's faster than me. I don't really know about that. But or I guess maybe because it's dashing, but I don't know.
Oh, mm-hmm. That makes sense.
Yeah. And then I can choose to see through its eyes and hear through its ears if I want to. And then as a bonus action on each turn can basically swap consciousness between the fake me and the real invisible me. So I can...
This sounds like basically what Screezel does, but like you can switch consciousness. Like Screezel has like 100-foot range too, where it's like Ryan can see and hear through his eyes and ears, but this is like so much more than that because you can embody it. And like, does it have any like limit on distance? As in, it has to be within 1,000 feet of you. It
doesn't say so. The range,
cool.
The range just says self, and then there's nothing else in the description that says anything about distance.
Then there probably isn't. I mean, it is a level spell, so
damage.
That's what I was trying to see, like if it gets attacked or something, if it goes away. But I think because
it says illusory.
It's illusory. I think people just can't hit it. Like it's just
unless you're embodying it, it's non-corporeal.
Okay, so it also can't interact with things. It's just kind of there.
Yeah, it just gestures and talks and does whatever. So it's a very good distraction. But
okay.
But
yeah, I mean,
that's
it seems like you could
fun.
use that to safely infiltrate places like a castle, for instance.
One episode too late.
Yeah. Because, I mean, even just like the fact that I'm invisible, like the real me is invisible, is super useful. And the fact that there's like a visual version of me somewhere else is like nice.
Yeah. But I mean, you could send it somewhere, right, really far away, and then just like teleport yourself there, basically. By swapping your consciousness, right? Or does that not...
to see what it's seeing, but I think when I return, like when I end the spell, I will still inhabit my original
body. Oh, okay.
Invisible body.
I thought swap consciousness meant like you can basically flop them. Like
yeah, sorry. I shouldn't use the term swap consciousness. The way they phrase it is you can see through its eyes and hear through its ears as if you were located where it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then
so
on
it's
each
always
turn,
non-corporeal.
you can switch from using its senses to using your own or back again.
Okay.
And while you are using its senses, you are blinded and deafened to your actual surroundings. So you can only see through one thing at a time. But
real Yenri is left very vulnerable.
But real
luckily,
Yenri is
he's
invisible.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I picture the fake Yenri as like a poor like voodoo doll version or something with button eyes.
The Coraline.
Yeah, Coraline
Yes.
Yenri.
That's awesome. That's gonna be a fun one to play around with.
Yeah. It's really interesting because like I was thinking like, oh yeah, you could use this to like distract a guard where like I have this thing stand there and like be talking to or whatever, and then the invisible me like sneaks past and goes and does stuff. But if I'm not actively doing anything as it, I can like tell it to like, I guess, gesture or like behave. But is it going to be smart enough to like carry on a legitimate conversation?
It's like that episode of Rick and Morty, the yes guy, when Jerry's in like the poorly rendered world.
Or like Ferris Bueller, it's just a pre-recorded conversation.
Yeah, exactly.
I think it could work.
As long as the world's full of Jerrys, then we'll be all right.
There's a lot of Jerrys. Sweet. Well, that's going to be very, very exciting to delve into some of those new abilities later on.
Yeah.
But now we are transporting ourselves back into fantasy world. You guys are in the snowscape. You're with Sage. The prince is crying. And you guys got to get back home. So Sage is standing there and she looks at all of you. And she says, I am not sure what to do with this prince. I remember hearing long, long ago that he disappeared, but no one ever knew where he ended up. And I guess now we have our answer.
Yeah. That's my fault. Didn't think it through, clearly.
I mean, I think it's understandable given the circumstances you guys were under. I mean, you were infiltrating a castle and were being chased by guards and all sorts of other people. Now we just have to deal with this tiny brat.
So we can't go put him back?
I don't believe so. I mean, we could give him back to Lord Orthgar, but that doesn't seem like a very good idea. This seems like a great piece of
Leverage?
leverage, exactly. And the prince continues crying down there, and he stands up and he's like, "Why? Where are we? Why am I here?" He's like, I want my comfy sheets. And you see him like blip out of existence for a second. And he appears next to you guys on top of the hole. And he looks around and he's like, what is happening? And you see him like blip a little bit more over next to Sage. And he's just like crying. And he's puts out his hands like, okay. Just need to calm down. It's so cold. And he looks at Yen and he's like, can I have your coat?
Sure, yeah.
It's so cold. I just can't think. I can't think at all. And he walks over and he takes your coat and he puts it on himself. And Sage walks over to him and she says, Perry, I need you to listen to me for a second. You have been transported 20 years in the future, and now we cannot bring you back. We must move forward, and I must ask you not to panic. And Perry starts to like hyperventilate a little bit, and you see him pass out, and Sage catches him in her arms, and she just lifts him up and says, well, I guess this is easier than dealing with him right now. And she says, do you have your ravens nearby?
I don't remember.
I don't remember either.
Me neither.
It's been ages.
It's been years.
So roll a intelligence check or a survival check.
That time travel really does a number on your memory, huh?
13.
11.
It's a 2.
Okay. None of you can seem to remember where your ravens are parked.
This is going to be like that episode of Seinfeld where they can't remember where the car is parked in the parking garage.
And they wander around for hours.
The
I don't
entire
remember that episode.
They're just wandering through the parking garage looking for their car.
Oh, God.
Is that where Dude, Where's My Car? I got the idea.
Maybe.
The Seinfeld spinoff.
Dude, where's my raven? No, Sage, I do not. We can't remember where our ravens are.
I think they're parked around here somewhere, but I just don't remember.
Can Yenri feel like is there a feeling with his Yenri?
Wenry.
Yeah, his Wenri.
With my Yenri Wenri.
Yenri Wenri.
You guys do have a link. Like you are bound in some way with
Use
that,
your Find
so,
My Wenri.
Yeah.
My Wenri app. Pull out the squeezle. Yeah, I guess I'd pull out my medallion and like push it to my chest and see if I can feel where she is.
Mm-hmm. So you do that, and you have this feeling inside of you that Wenry is nearby, and you can feel her presence like 200 yards through the snow over a little hill.
Okay. Guys, they are nearby. I can feel Wenry. They're just over that hill.
Oh, thank God. And Sage like lifts up the prince a little bit more, and she starts walking. It's like, all right, let's get over there. And you guys start marching through the snow for a bit, and sure enough, you crest the hill and you see your 3 ravens sitting there. They're a little chilled. There's some icicles hanging off their wings, but they are they're there, and they stand up to greet you, and they shake off the ice a little bit and are waiting your commands.
I cast some prestidigitation to de-ice the ravens.
Ooh, nice. Yeah, and they are cleaned up. They look warm and fluffy and ready to fly.
Dope.
All right, so where are we headed? Back to Kultan?
I think that would be best, yes. And I think for these 3 ravens, Puff, I'm going to give you the prince, and Yenri, I'm going to ride on your raven. Orc, I think that you have enough weight to just carry yourself on the raven.
Oh, hey now.
Weird dig.
You know, this is just about being efficient at this point.
All right, let's go.
Don't know how to respond to that.
So Sage hops onto Yenri's raven, and then after she puts the prince in Puff's, and you guys take a running start and lift off into the air, into the cold.
Yeah.
And
Yar.
Go, Ravens, go.
Go, fancy
tea.
fish, go.
But yeah, so it is daytime right now. The sky is clear, so you have a great view of your surroundings, but it's just snow as far as you can see, with random craggy peaks like erupting from the snowscape. And you're flying for about 2 hours, and you start to see the recognizable twin peaks of Kultan with the river running through it. And you begin to descend into this area, and you can see the Valkyrie shimmering in the sunlight. And you race down to the ground, and your raven's feet hit, and you trot for a little bit, and you pull up next to the Valkyrie. And standing at the entrance of the Valkyrie is Fira. And she looks out over you, and she screams like, "You're back!" And she runs down like the gangplank of the Valkyrie and runs over to Sage. And she gives Sage a big hug and like lifts her off the ground and says, "It's about goddamn time you got back. I was getting sick of looking after all these people here." And she goes over to each of you and gives you like a big bear hug too. And says like, "Can't tell you how grateful I am for you bringing Sage back to us." And in the distance, you can see Grim starting to come down the gangplank as well. And Fira turns to you all and says, "I mean, it's been a couple weeks since you left. What's been happening?"
Well, we got another talisman.
"That's great. Where is it?"
It's,
Right here.
yep.
Here, we point to Sage.
That
Yeah.
one.
And Sage bows at her, and Fira's eyes go wide a little bit. And Sage just says, "It's a little bit of a long story. I'll fill you in inside." And Grim comes running down the gangplank, and he finally meets you guys. He's like, "Oh my God, you're back! You're back! And Sage, you're back!"
Grim.
It's like, "Hey, buddy!" And he goes and he slaps you all on the back. Says, "Man, it's about time here." It's like we were really starting to get worried that we're gonna be losing like all our best people here. I mean, it's been 2 weeks. We've just been hunkering down, but my God, it's great to see you all. It's like let's get up on the Valkyrie where it's a little less cold. And so you all round up and you walk up the gangplank into the Valkyrie. And you end up making your way to the bridge of the Valkyrie, and you're all standing around, and Sage fills in Fira and Grim about where she was, that she had gone out and had been encapsulated in this crystal palace and had lost sort of a sense of time while she was there. But then you had saved her, and her soul was returned, and she had returned, and now she is, in fact, the embodiment of the Talisman of Time now. And Fear and Grim just sort of have these amazed looks on their face this whole time. They're really trying to take everything in. And Grim turns to all of you and he just says, "So you guys really went 20 years in the past? Like just now? Like you just got back from 20 years ago?"
I
We think
that's how
so.
it works.
It's like, "Man, that must have been crazy. Did you see any cool stuff? You bring anything back?"
Oh, I forgot to stop at the gift shop.
I got something.
Yeah?
I got this vampire amulet or whatever it is. Oh, sapphire? What is it?
It's like a ruby necklace.
Yeah, it's from a vampire.
Oh man, that's cool. Did you like kill it?
Yep. And now I can heal myself.
Whoa, that's badass. So you're like a magic orc now.
Yeah.
Magic orc.
Magic orc.
The Pokemon Magikarp.
It's magic orc.
Who evolves into Gyarados.
And so he looks at the rest of it. He's like, yeah, anything else? And he's like, what about that unconscious guy that Fear happens to be holding right now? What's that dude's story?
Oh, I put him in my hole.
Excuse me?
Phrasing.
Is this Richard Gere part 2?
Forgot he was in his hole and he followed us all the way back here. Yeah, I guess you could call him a souvenir. This is the Prince of Omnia, or at least was. I don't really know how that works anymore.
And Grimm's jaw drops. He's just like, oh my God. And Sage turns to him and he's like, yeah, I was kind of waiting to determine what to do about this. Basically what happened is they put him in a portable hole, kind of forgot about him, and then when they were transported back here, the prince is still here. So, yeah, that's an interesting thing we have to deal with, but the good news is that he is likely close to the king, being the king's son, so there's probably valuable information that he has about the operations of the Guardians. Granted, it's 20 years old now, but who knows? Who knows what he might know?
He also seems to be unstable. He was sort of like glitching out back there.
Yeah, like temporally unstable.
And emotionally.
Yeah, I guess both.
Oh, well, that's not good. I mean, honestly, he's not like mechanical, so that's kind of out of the realm of my qualifications. But I bet Percy would take a look at him. And I know that Percy's going to be very excited to sort of examine Sage as well and see what this whole like embodiment of the Talisman of Time thing is all about. And Sage looks at Grimm and says, yes, I think that that's probably the best move going forward. We should probably talk to Percy as soon as possible. And so you guys collect yourselves, and Fira is still holding Perry, and you guys all walk down towards the elevator that leads into the depths of the ship that you haven't seen in quite a long time. I was thinking about this. I think you've met Percy once, maybe twice, and it was a while ago.
Yeah, I think just once.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so he was a character
he
back.
Would they have been here the whole year that we were in Coolton?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Okay,
so you'd be familiar with him, but he's sort of a recluse, and he's the ship's archaeologist. So he stays in the bowels of the ship with Iser and May. They're the two monks that help protect the ship. One of them shields the ship using magic, and the other one is sort of a like alarm system. He can see out and detect magic really far from the ship, so he can detect if people are coming nearby. So you reach the inner part of the ship, and you enter in sort of one by one into the small elevator that leads farther down. And the doors open up, and you walk into this room that you recognize as Percy's laboratory. So there's all kinds of gadgets and statues and scrolls all over the tables. And then in the center of this room, you see Iser and May, and they're sitting underneath this tree with twisting branches rising up, and foliage is sort of canopied above them. And in front of them is a small stone table that has two gems on it. One is blue and one is black, and you recognize those as the talismans of darkness and water. And Percy walks up to you all, and he says, "Hey, Sage, I'm so glad that you're back. I'm so happy that you're finally here. It's like I've been down here for months. I feel like I've just been studying. I've made some great progress on the talismans, though. It's been great. But it's like, where have you been? What did you find out?" And Sage replies, "Percy, it's a very, very long story, but the most important part to tell you is that the Talisman of Time, I am the Talisman of Time, apparently. The original keeper of the Talisman of Time imbued her bloodline with the talisman's power, and I am apparently the last living heir of that. And Percy's eyes go wide as she says this, and he runs over to her and he's like, I must confirm this. And he's like, one moment, and he like holds his hands out to her, and you see them glow softly. He's like, I'm just going to detect the type of magic that's emanating from you. And his hands start glowing, and with that, Sage's eyes glow white a little bit. And you see the other talismans across the room glow a little bit as well. And all of the lights go out at the same time as Percy lowers his hands. He's like, wow, it really is true. It's like your magical aura, it's emanating the same energy as the talismans. This is fantastic. There's so much that we can do with this. But I feel like there's still so much we don't understand. And he walks over to Sage and he says, I want you to come closer to Iser and May and the other talismans. I feel like maybe they'll be able to read more than I'm reading here. And Sage nods her head at him, and she walks over towards the talismans. And you see them start to glow a little bit, and Sage hesitates for a second, but then walks closer. And as she gets within a few feet, you see her white hair start to stand up on end a little bit, and this white light glowing from her body. And then she rises into the air a little bit, and you see her eyes glow white, and the other talismans glow. And the whole room that you're standing in is engulfed in this white mist. Again, very similar to when you were with Zana. And you are now all standing in this white room, and you are looking at your hands, and you're sort of see-through. And you feel like you're in a dream state. But you're all with each other right now. So you see Grim and Fira and Sage and Percy, and you're all standing in this room together. And Grim looks at you guys like, are you guys seeing the same thing I'm seeing, or am I going crazy?
Oh, no, I see it.
I'm seeing it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like, well, this is concerning. And as you're all looking at your hands and trying to get a bearing of what you're looking at, you see a few shapes start to materialize in front of you in the mist. And again, it feels like you're looking at a dream, or looking back. It feels like you're looking back at a memory or something like that. And you see a younger looking Zana, and she's laying in a bed, and she looks a little bit exhausted. And there's a man standing next to her, and she's sitting in the bed, and she has two small children in her arms. They look like newborn babies. And she looks at them and says, aren't they beautiful, Talis? I shall name them Arrow and Raya. And the man that she just called Talis puts his arm on her shoulder, and he looks very happy. And then this scene just disappears in a wisp of mist.
His name is Talis?
Yes.
So he's the Talisman?
Solved it.
I didn't
Oh my
even think
God.
of that.
Puzzle done.
It all makes sense now.
The Talisman.
Damn. The whole thing is ruined. You guys figured it out. It's funny. There's been a few times that's happened where I've like named something, and then afterwards it's like, wow, my mind operates in very like easy to read ways. Like when I named Bellion, and it's like the place where the rebellion is happening. It's like, oh,
I never thought about that.
I didn't even think about that. I feel like we mentioned this in a previous episode.
Really?
But yeah, I wasn't thinking of that at all. But it's like, oh, like what do I call the place where the rebellion happens? It's like, Bellion.
And then when they try again,
Yeah. Then they try again. It's the rebellion.
It's the rebellion. Yeah, they're fixing up it's gentrifying. It's the rebellion. Okay, so this scene dissipates in front of you, and then another scene materializes in front of you, and you see two children. They're a little bit older, maybe 6-7 years old, And the man named Talis and Zana are sitting on a rock watching them play. And Zana says to Talis, "Why, they're mighty clever. Arrow is quite strong-willed, though. He may even replace you someday on the council." And Talis just laughs a little bit, and he keeps looking at the kids playing. And then the scene disappears again, and a new one reappears with Zana, Talis, and 4 other, old men and women dressed in yellow robes, and they're sitting in a line at the front of a large monastery, and it's snowing out. And Zana stands up and says, "I am proud and honored to welcome a new elder to the council. After 49 years of meditation, you're ready to help lead our people, Arrow." And you see a man in his 50s approach Zana, and Zana hands him a red sash. And as she does, the sash and everything else materializes into white smoke again. And then you see they're engulfed in white again, and you see a large blue crystal streak across the whiteness above you. And you hear this large boom as it crashes in a flash of light. And then you're standing next to the crater of this crystal, and you see 7 people standing around it. And Arrow, Talis, and Zana are 3 of the people. And you see the crystal shatter apart, and a colored shard floats to each elder that is standing around it. And you see a black shard come out, and it floats towards Arrow. And he looks up to the others and says, "With this divine power, we are going to change the world forever." And then the scene goes away again. And suddenly you're back at the monastery, and Zana is standing in front of Talis and her daughter Raya with a concerned look in her eyes. She says, "I feel we have made a grave error. The Talismans will bring destruction, I have seen it. We must destroy them." And Talis replies, "Arrow has too firm of a hold on the others. They will never relinquish their power." But Zana replies, "You must leave now, Talis. Go to the plane of air with your talisman and wait for me. I must stop this now." And Talis nods his head at her. And then Raya reaches out for Talis and yells, "No, please don't go!" But the scene disappears before she's able to grasp him. In the next scene, Zana is seen rising up in the air, and she's risen above the 5 remaining talisman holders, the other elders. Her eyes are burning white. Arrow yells out at her, "You don't know what you're doing! We can change the world for the better!" But Zana replies softly, "No, we will destroy it." And her eyes explode in a burst of white light. And you see the 5 remaining talisman holders evaporate in the air in front of her, and streaks of colored light shoot from their bodies towards the far reaches of the world. And then as the blinding light subsides, you see a scene of Raya sleeping in her bed, and a small silvery light falls down to her ear and whispers, "I'm sorry, my darling, but I must bestow upon you a horrible burden. Please keep this talisman close to your heart and protect it." And then you see the light enter Raya's body. And as it does, there's a wisp of white smoke again, and she disappears. And then you see Percy's laboratory materialize again in front of you. And you see Sage fall down to the ground, and you all look at your hands and you feel like you're back to normal. And Sage looks back at you all and she says, I think I've just seen one of Zana's memories." It's like, "Were you all present for that?"
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And Percy's looking around at you all, and he's like, "That was incredible. Because the Talisman of Time resides inside of you, you must be gaining some of Zana's powers or her memories or something else. This is incredible. It's like we can learn so much from this." He's like, "And the piece about the Talisman of Talis was interesting." Oh, that's going to be shitty to say from here on in.
Talisman of Talis.
Talis is talisman.
Wow.
Yeah, that was a lot.
So were we able to see which color the different elders had?
Yeah, you were. And so you saw that Zana had a silvery one, Arrow had a black one, and Talus had a golden one.
And we didn't recognize the other elders?
The other elders weren't specifically called out by name
Yeah.
in the memories that you saw. But you did recognize Talus's talisman as the... Wow, I'm really, really regretting this naming choice now. You recognize his talisman as the Talisman of Thunder.
Okay. You can just call him Mr. T.
Mr. T. I like that better. I was trying to think of a T name when I was thinking, like, okay, he's the holder of the Talisman of Thunder. I need a T name. And I just thought, I was like, oh, yeah, that's cool.
Okay, so I wasn't taking notes. Did anyone remember where Zana told Talus to go?
And Percy, like, pipes up and he says, she told him to go to the plane of air.
Oh,
Plane of air.
Does that sound familiar to you? Do you know what that would mean?
Yeah, so this is kind of a complicated concept, but the world that we live in is the material plane. And the material plane is surrounded by other planes of existence that have elemental affinities. So there's a plane of fire, a plane of earth, a plane of water, a plane of air.
Plane of heart?
Plane of heart. And we are Captain Planet in the middle, is what I'm trying to say.
Plane of snakes?
Plane of,
But it's
plane of donuts?
that
Gotta reach for that one.
that took me a second to get plane of snakes. Oh my god. So these goddamn snakes, this goddamn elemental plane.
Goddamn plane of existence.
It's like, yeah, so there's information. There's only very, very powerful mages that are able to transport to the elemental planes, but there are some places on Earth where there is a meeting place between the planes, and you can actually transport yourself from the material plane to the plane of air. It's like, I don't know where that would be or how we would do it, but those are the things that I've studied in my past, and I know it's possible, but
Maybe there's some kind of plane train that you can take between the planes.
Or an airplane to the plane of air.
That's what he meant. Just get on the plane of air. An airplane.
It's like the Lego movie vernacular.
Catch a flight home and
yeah.
wait for me.
I must go on the air of planes to Miami on a 405 flight.
Flying jet blue.
Yeah. And Percy looks at you all. He says, "This is all very exciting, but I feel like we must do a few other things before we tackle this issue." Sage, now that you're back, I want you to know that I got an enormous magical reading about a couple hours ago, and I'm afraid that when you and all of you transported back to this area from 20 years ago, maybe there was some magical explosion or something like that, and if we were able to detect it, then the Guardians might be able to detect it too. So I think that we have to close up shop here and fly to somewhere else with the Valkyrie. It's not safe for the people of Kultan anymore. And Sage nods her head, and she says, "Percy, I think that you're right. These people have given us enough protection. If you did detect that magic, then the people here are in fact in danger. Quickly, everyone, get to your stations. We have to take off immediately. The rest of you stay down here with Percy. You can keep talking to him about next steps, but the rest of us, we got to go get this bird off the ground." And Sage bows to the rest of you and thanks Percy, and her, Grim, and Fira with Perry walk into the elevator, and they rise up into the ship, and you're left there with Percy.
I was like, who's Perry?
Prince Perry.
Prince Perry.
Perry Orthgard.
And so Percy is thinking for a moment, and he says, I'm trying to reach into my my mind here and try and think if there's anything that I know where you could get to the elemental plane. Honestly, this is beyond my reach of knowledge, I would say. Like, but I do know a place where you might be able to find that information. Like, there is a city called Toth in the southeastern corner of the continent, and there's a library in Toth that holds basically the entire realm of human knowledge. I think that you might be able to go there, and if you can talk to the monks that hold the information there, you might be able to pick apart the library for some information on this.
Oh,
Books.
great. A library.
All right.
Okay.
So like ravens again?
Yeah, luckily that'll be the easiest for you. And I have to let you know too that the library, they don't just let anyone in. You gotta
Have a library card, I know. Yeah.
No, it's not even a library card. That would be fantastic. That'd be great. But no, this is a very special library. They only let very select people in. You have to bring a tome to them that they don't have in their collection yet in order to enter.
Oh.
Tome.
Yes, a tome. A book. Sorry if you are not familiar with that word.
Can I write one? They won't have that. It'll be an original.
True.
Yeah. That could be great. Potentially.
All right, I'll start writing.
You have one day to write a tome.
My rage.
Are there requirements for a tome, like lengthwise?
Usually it has to be filled with knowledge that's going to be helpful to other people or contain magical secrets or adventurers' quests or things of that nature.
I got all that.
It has to be at least 400 pages, otherwise it's a tomella.
My rage in my hole.
A collection of poetry by Orkpen Glitbrod.
A tome.
His pen name?
Yeah.
Pen clip run. The man in my hole.
A collection of slam poetry.
Slam Toem Tree.
Oh my god.
All right, I'm writing. You guys figure out your own books.
Well, so did we
You
bring
should be able
anything-
to just present one.
Yeah, did we bring anything back from the Lost City?
Oh.
Somtal
Samtal.
with the zombies. It's
Yeah.
another one.
Didn't we bring and we brought something back from Anderson Cooper, didn't we?
Oh.
Oh. Yeah.
Was that
Wait,
a
so
book?
Was that just a map?
No, that
Or was it
was
a
like a collection of notes
It was in
of the Guardians
Oh, there you go.
with the map of Mardinia with the abyssal speech on it that talks about the lost city of Zomtal.
That seems pretty valuable.
That's convenient.
Can we
That does seem pretty important.
have you transcribed it? You got a copy?
Oh, of course I have. Yes.
Could we use that?
Absolutely. That seems like the perfect thing to give to them. And they are great keepers of knowledge. I know that the contents of these scripts will be in very, very good hands, very protected there.
Oracle just leave a little like insert with some of his poems on it.
Yeah.
Inside. Like a guy handing out his CD on the street corner.
Yeah.
If you just like thumb to the middle, you'll find.
Yep.
Oh, how'd that get in there?
So Percy runs over and he starts shuffling through some papers, and you feel the whole ship start to shudder, and you feel there's like a pit in your stomach that goes down as you feel the ground beneath you raise up, and the whole ship you feel raise off the ground, and you are now in flight on the Valkyrie. And Percy comes back over to you and hands you the collection of notes that you took from Anderson Cooper. And he says, this is a fantastic idea. I know that this will be very important to them. They'll be very excited to take this into their collection.
Yeah. Not quite as excited as my book, but they'll like it.
I mean, feel free to give him your own book as well. I mean, the more the merrier, honestly.
Yeah. Well, once again, Percy, thank you for the information.
No problem. I'll see you guys in another 35 episodes. All right, and he bows at you guys, and you walk back into the elevator, and you raise back up, and you're now in the belly of the ship, which is now in the air and has taken flight off to unknown lands.